The Bitcoin Act of 2024. Will this be the biggest, most transformative act of 2025? Let's get into it.
You know, before you all leave, have we got a present for President Donald Trump? Here it is. This is the Bitcoin Reserve Bill. I'm reading from the text. In the Senate of the United States, to establish a Bitcoin strategic reserve, a network of secure storage vaults, purchase program, and other programs to ensure the transparent management of Bitcoin holdings of the federal government.
This is big. This is very big. She's talking about creating another store of value, like what we currently do with gold, but for Bitcoin, a strategic Bitcoin reserve. This is big.
My name is Cynthia Lummis, and I'm the Bitcoin Senator. When Satoshi Nakamoto, in January of 2009, mined the first Bitcoin, he brought about an asset that will change the world. And this is our Louisiana Purchase moment. This Bitcoin reserve that we're going to create will start with the 210,000 Bitcoin that President Trump just mentioned and pull it into a reserve stored in geographically diverse vaults. And that's only the beginning. Over 5 years, the United States will assemble 1 million Bitcoin, 5% of the world's supply.
That's a lot of Bitcoin. That's a lot of Bitcoin. And don't miss what she just said. That 210,000 Bitcoin that she just talked about, that's Bitcoin that we already have. That's Bitcoin that we already have, that the United States already has control of through the asset forfeiture program that was confiscated through criminal activity on the dark web. So we already holding Bitcoin. We already holding it.
And it will be held for a minimum of 20 years and can be used for one purpose: reduce our debt.
For those of you that don't know, our current debt at the recording of this video is $36 trillion and counting, because the money printer is on and it ain't going off.
This Bitcoin is going to be transformative for this country. As President Trump just said, we are printing too much money. We are spending too much money. We printed in 22 months during COVID the same amount of money that had ever been printed in the history of the United States.
All them stimmies, all them PPPs, yeah.
Well, no more. With a strategic Bitcoin reserve, we will have an asset that in that period of time before 2045 can cut our debt in half. And as Michael Saylor said yesterday,
Hey, that's important what she just said, because I don't know of another asset that, there's two things she said that's important. One, we starting to see Bitcoin is not a digital currency anymore. we're looking at Bitcoin differently now. We're looking at it as a true store of value. We're looking at it as a true asset class. This is no longer a digital currency. Two,
if we put $3.3 million in a Bitcoin reserve, we will eliminate the United States debt.
I don't know of another asset class that we could put money into that's even as volatile or moving fast enough to even catch up to our national debt, which again is 36 trillion. Bitcoin probably one of the only ones that could do it because it's growing about anywhere from 40 to 50% annually, about 40 on the low end.
We will be debt free because of Bitcoin. This asset is transforming not only our country, but our world. And the United States needs to be the global leader, as President Trump just said.
We definitely do. We're behind in everything. We're behind in everything. We can no longer let Russia, China, we can't let these other countries continue to be the leaders. We can't depend on them for production. We can't depend on people for oil. We have to be the leaders. We can't let crypto slip out. We have to be at the epicenter. We have to be at the forefront. We have to be the global leaders when it comes to being the first ones to truly look at Bitcoin as a true asset class and treating it as such. And we have to be the first ones to get the jump start on starting a stockpile first. We gotta have the most. We gotta have the most. If we want to be number one, we gotta have the most. Because if this bill passes and we start accumulating Bitcoin, you best believe the other countries gonna start getting it too. And we have to have the most.
And you know what? We don't have to raise taxes to do it. We have the funds now. This bill provides that not only will the asset forfeiture money be transferred into this reserve, fulfilling President Trump's promise that he won't sell any Bitcoin, but we will convert excess reserves at our 12 Federal Reserve banks into Bitcoin over 5 years. We have the money now.
So that's important. Most bills that get introduced to us, they got to use tax dollars to pay for it. They got to cut them money printers on. This bill, what they're proposing is, like I just said before, we're already holding Bitcoin through asset forfeiture program. So we take what we already have. Instead of spending it like we've been having, we take what we already have, use that as a base, and then we acquire up to 200,000 Bitcoin a year over the next 5 years to eventually get to 1 million Bitcoin in our strategic Bitcoin reserve. And we don't have to use tax dollars to pay for it. Another thing, that's the first way. The stock, remember, 1, we start with the stockpile that we already have. 2, we're going to accumulate up to 200,000 a year to get to 1 million. That other Bitcoin that we're accumulating outside of the stockpile we currently have, our gold notes are currently on the books at their 1970s value. What she's proposing is that we take those gold notes and bring them up to market value and use the delta of those two, essentially just transferring value from gold over to Bitcoin over a 5-year period until we would eventually have 1 million Bitcoin.
But we'll no longer be holding it in US dollars, an asset that is designed to debase at least 2% per year. We'll be holding it in an asset that will grow in value, that throughout its history has grown 55% per year. This is the solution. This is the answer. This is our Louisiana Purchase moment. Thank you, Bitcoin. It's your love of freedom.
Okay, so we're going to go over to congress.gov, which I would encourage you all to go to congress.gov and read this bill in depth, because I do believe that this bill is going to be a major catalyst for the change that we'll see when it comes to our financial industry. If you're invested in crypto, you definitely need to be paying attention to this, especially if you're invested in Bitcoin. But this is because this is going to be massive. This is going to be massive. Once the United States starts stockpiling Bitcoin, other countries will begin to do it as well. And we have states like Pennsylvania wanting to do it on a state level and use state funding to invest in Bitcoin as well. We already have banks doing it. We already have major companies doing it. Look at MicroStrategies. So we already have companies doing it, hedge funds, the big banks. Now you're talking about governments, countries, states getting involved in it. It's going to be major. It's going to be major. Investing is not optional at this point. You have to do it or you're going to get left behind. You have to. So, Congress.gov, go and read through it. It talks about various things about what they want to do with the bill. It talks about how they're going to store it, how they're going to be storing it in different geographical locations, in cold storage facilities, about how we're going to purchase it, like I talked about earlier, the plan to purchase to get to 1 million over a 5-year period, already using what we have as the base. It also talks about how they are going to be letting us know. So what they're going to essentially do is kind of like a quarterly report that let us know what we have currently, what is being spent on. If they were to spend it, which again, she said they have to hold it for a minimum of 20 years, and the only thing they can spend it on during that period is paying down our national debt. So, I mean, this just goes into a lot of different things that I encourage you to go read again. This here just shows what we're currently holding. We already at the top. You see who right behind us. You see who right behind us. We can't lose. We got to be number one. This bill has to pass. We have to be at the forefront. We have to, come on now, got to do it. And again, we accumulated this through asset forfeiture program. So, that's the Bitcoin Act. This is my debut to YouTube. Expect a lot more reaction videos like this, breaking down political, economical, financial events, tying it back to the money. Tying it back to the money. I also have a podcast on the way called Over the Counter. You'll meet my co-host soon. But please like, share, subscribe. Let me know in the comments, man. Do you think that this bill will even pass? Are you invested in Bitcoin? Do you think we could buy enough Bitcoin and hold it for a period of time to where it eventually be worth enough to pay off our debt or a big chunk? Let me know in the comments. Thank you. Stay tuned for the next one.